So it looked like WNBA players has agreed to Cathy Engelbert 30-day extension.
So the WNBA just managed to dodge a lockout, right? They got a 30-day extension, and honestly, fans are totally losing it. The players, even Caitlin Clark and everyone else who's been caught up in all this league chaos all year, agreed to give Cathy Engelbert more time to sort out this whole mess. But here's the thing, this extension could actually make everything even worse, not better. And it feels like no one really wants to say that out loud. Do you honestly think this 30-day delay is going to fix anything? Or are they just pushing off what's inevitably going to be a disaster?
Now, man, news is coming out of the WNBA pipeline that the players has agreed to basically not have a lockout.
So we're back again with more WNBA drama, right? Because, listen, it feels like this league just can't catch a break without some kind of controversy or a big organizational mess. The news just came out that the WNBA and the Players Association agreed on a 30-day extension. Basically, instead of a lockout starting November 1st, they're now pushing it all back to November 30th. Both the players and the league signed off on it, and Cathy Engelbert, who's been commissioner and at the heart of pretty much every WNBA problem for the last few years, well, she gets another month to figure things out. But here's why fans are so worked up about it. A lot of people really wanted the players to stand firm. They wanted them to actually force a real showdown with the league. The players have so much power right now, more than ever in WNBA history. The league just wrapped up its most watched season ever, mostly thanks to Caitlin Clark pulling in millions of new fans. Attendance shot up, TV ratings were through the roof, and social media was buzzing. This was absolutely the perfect moment for players to demand some serious change, better salaries, better travel, just better everything. But instead, they agreed to extend negotiations and give Engelbert even more time.
I think it's pretty clear that the players do not trust Cathy Engelbert. And it's actually been clear for a while. And I can tell you that I have had private conversations with players, and both former and present, and many of them have expressed the exact same thing that Napheesa Collier said. And if you notice across social media, from Angel Reeves to all different players, they were all doing this. The players and the owners and league leadership are at odds because they feel like so far these CBA negotiations have very much reflected that mentality. I'm pretty sure a deal is not going to get done. Not if Cathy Engelbert is the one leading these negotiations. A deal is absolutely not going to get done because the players have no respect for her. B is probably thinking the same thing that I'm thinking, in that this leadership can't continue if it's like this. And so this is her and the players' way of getting Cathy Engelbert about the paint.
The thing is, the problem here is pretty straightforward. Cathy Engelbert has literally had years to fix these issues, and she just hasn't done it. She's been commissioner since, and honestly, the league still doesn't pay players enough for them to live comfortably without having to go play overseas every single offseason. The travel situation, it's still a total joke, with players flying commercial and constantly dealing with crazy delay. Plus, the schedule is just way too packed, with back-to-back games that just boost the risk of injuries, and don't even get me started on the officiating. It's still so inconsistent and controversial. Even the marketing is terrible, outside of everything Caitlin Clark is doing, of course. So, seriously, why would anyone think that giving Engelbert another 30 days is suddenly going to make any real meaningful changes? Fans online are already calling this a huge mistake by the players. They're saying the players had all the power in the world and just decided not to use it. What's crazy is some people are even calling out Caitlin Clark directly for agreeing to this extension. And that's interesting because, let's be real, she's in a totally unique spot. She's the biggest star in the league by a mile. She pulls in more viewers, more sponsors, more money than anyone else out there. If she had chosen to publicly say no to this extension and really pushed for a tougher stance against the league, that would have carried some serious weight. But she didn't. She just went along with everyone else.
Hey, Napheesa Collier continues to use Caitlin Clark when it comes to these CBA negotiations, and it's quite obvious why. She is the only leverage, the only type of leverage that the Players Association has. She is the only bargaining chip the players have that the owners look at and say, I'm not sure if we really want to lose that.
Now, here's where things get a bit tricky. Caitlyn actually probably has the least to lose if there was a lockout, especially compared to other players. I mean, she's pulling in millions from endorsements with Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, you name it, a ton of other big brands. Her income off the court is way higher than anything she makes from the WNBA itself. So a lockout wouldn't really hurt her financially at all. But listen, a lot of other players just don't have that kind of luxury. Most WNBA players rely super heavily on their league salary and those overseas contracts. A lockout could seriously mess up their finances, especially if it dragged on for a few months. So you can totally get why they might be a little hesitant to let things get to that point.
We saw the WNBA come out and say that the WNBA players were lying about the negotiation and that the players were not responding to their offers. The WNBA sent out an offer on October 1st to the WNBPA. They did not respond to them nearly for the entire month. They responded October 27th with the counter. Over 3.5 weeks later. So the WNBA wasn't lying about that. That's why I thought there would be no extension when it came to this. But the news is here. The WNBA, they have agreed to a 30-day extension with the WNBPA, and this will run through November 30th.
So, it's November 30th, and honestly, that's exactly why this whole situation is just so frustrating for fans. The players who have the most power are actually the ones who need the WNBA the least. And the players who desperately need the WNBA, they're the ones with almost no power at all. It's a broken system, plain and simple. This 30-day extension, it doesn't fix a single thing. It just pushes the real conversation further down the road. Let's really talk about Cathy Engelbert here, because she's who most fans are truly angry with. Sure, the WNBA has grown in popularity during her time as commissioner. But get this, that growth has almost nothing to do with anything she actually did. It's all because of the players. It's because Caitlin Clark exploded into a superstar and brought in all this mainstream attention. It's because Angel Reese created those rivalries and that drama that gets everyone talking. And it's because players like A'ja Wilson and Breanna Stewart just keep being absolutely amazing at basketball. Honestly, the league grew despite Engelbert's leadership, not because of it. So what has Engelbert actually accomplished as commissioner then? She did secure some new sponsorship deals, which is good, and she got the league a better TV contract, which is also good. But those things happened because the actual product on the court improved, and the players became way more marketable. Engelbert didn't create that momentum. She just happened to be the commissioner when it all went down. And meanwhile, she's completely failed to tackle the really fundamental issues that have plagued the league for years. The salary situation, it's genuinely embarrassing. The max contract in the WNBA is only around $200,000. Meanwhile, a minimum salary NBA player makes almost $1 million. And yeah, everyone knows the NBA makes way more money than the WNBA. We get it. But the revenue split is what really matters here. WNBA players get a much smaller percentage of the league revenue compared to NBA players. That's just not fair. And it's something Engelbert absolutely could have pushed harder to change, but she didn't. The travel situation is even more embarrassing. WNBA players are elite professional athletes, yet they're flying commercial, dealing with layovers, and sometimes not even getting to their destination until the middle of the night, right before a game the next day. That's not just uncomfortable. That's a huge competitive disadvantage and a serious injury risk. Teams that can actually afford to charter flights have a real leg up on teams that can't. That creates an uneven playing field, and that's bad for the integrity of the sport. Engelbert talks about fixing this every single year. It still hasn't been fixed. And the officiating? That's another total disaster that Engelbert just refuses to address properly. Fans, players and coaches are constantly complaining about inconsistent calls, terrible replay decisions, and referees who honestly seem to have personal grudges against certain players. Caitlin Clark, for example, got beat up all season long with moving screens, hip checks, and hard fouls that just never got called. Other players faced similar treatment. The league handed out some technical fouls and fines, but there was no real systemic change to make officiating better. That's on the commissioner. And Engelbert hasn't done anything meaningful about it. Plus, Let's not forget the Caitlin Clark snub from the Olympic team. That was a huge PR disaster that made the WNBA and USA Basketball look totally petty and frankly kind of stupid. Caitlin was the most popular player in women's basketball, and they left her off the Olympic roster. The reasons given were things like her being too inexperienced, or that veteran players deserve the spots more. But come on, everyone knew the real reason was politics and jealousy from older players who resented her popularity. Engelbert could have stepped in. She could have made it clear that the best players should make the team, no matter what anyone's feelings were. She did. She stayed silent and let the whole controversy play out, and that really hurt the league's image. So, when fans hear that the players agreed to give Engelbert another 30 days to negotiate, they're rightfully skeptical. Why would this time be any different? What's going to change in 30 days that couldn't have changed in the past 5 years? The answer is probably nothing. This extension just kicks the can down the road. It lets everyone avoid making the hard decisions right now. Now, some people are defending this move. They're saying that negotiations just take time, and that avoiding a lockout is always better than having one. And sure, lockouts are bad, they hurt everyone involved, but sometimes, you have to be willing to go through a little short-term pain for that big long-term gain. The players had a real opportunity to force some structural changes to the league. They had the leverage, they had the public support, and they chose not to use it. That's pretty disappointing for fans who really wanted to see the league finally evolve. There's also the big question of what actually happens on November 30th. If they still don't have a deal by then, what next? Do they extend again? Do they finally have a lockout? Or do the players just cave and accept whatever the league offers? Nobody knows. And that uncertainty is a big part of what's making fans so frustrated. This whole situation feels like it's been handled badly from the start, and this 30-day extension is just more proof of that. Another issue is how all this affects the upcoming season. The draft lottery is supposed to happen soon. Training camps are set to start in a few months. Free agency is on the horizon. If there's still no collective bargaining agreement by the end of November, all of that just gets thrown into complete chaos. Teams won't know their salary cap. Players won't know what they can earn. Rookies coming into the league won't know what to expect. It's a total mess, and it totally could have been avoided if the league and the players had just handled this better from day one. Caitlin Clark's involvement in all of this is particularly interesting to fans. She's the face of the league, whether she likes it or not. Everything she does gets picked apart and debated. When she agreed to this extension, just like the other players, some people saw it as her being a team player, supporting her fellow athletes. But others saw it as her missing a massive opportunity to use her huge platform to demand better for everyone. Both ways of looking at it have some merit. On one hand, Caitlin probably doesn't want to be seen as someone who's only looking out for herself. She makes tons of money from endorsements, but most of her teammates don't. If she had pushed for a hard stance that led to a lockout, she'd be totally fine financially. But other players would really suffer. That would definitely make her look selfish, and she's been super careful about her public image. She wants to be seen as someone who cares about the league and her teammates, not just someone chasing her own interest. On the other hand, Caitlin has more power than anyone else to actually force change. If she had come out publicly and said the players deserve better, and that she supports taking a tougher line against the league, that would have completely changed the whole conversation. Sponsors would have paid attention. The media would have paid attention. The league would have been under massive pressure to give the players what they want. By staying quiet and just going along with the extension, you could argue she really wasted that huge opportunity. It's also worth pointing out that this whole situation just shows how dysfunctional the WNBA is as an organization. The NBA has its problems too, but they generally handle labor negotiations way more smoothly. The WNBA just seems to stumble from one crisis to another, without ever learning from its past mistakes. And a lot of that, honestly, comes down to leadership. Cathy Engelbert is the common thread through all these problems. She's the one who's supposed to be steering the ship, and it feels like she just keeps running it into icebergs. Fans really wanted this to be the moment where the WNBA finally got serious about fixing its long-standing problems. The league just had its best year ever. There's so much momentum, there's so much attention, there's money coming in. This was the perfect chance to negotiate a new deal that truly reflects the value the players bring to the league. Instead, they got a 30-day extension that solves nothing and just delays the inevitable conflict. Some people are also suggesting that the players' union might not be as strong or as organized as it needs to be. The NBA Players Union is super powerful and has a track record of getting great deals for its members. The WNBA Players Union is still kind of figuring things out and might not have the same level of internal coordination. That could totally explain why they agreed to this extension instead of taking a harder stand. If the players aren't unified in what they want, it's just harder to negotiate effectively. And the timing of this extension is also a little suspicious to some fans. It pushes the deadline to November 30th, which is right before the big holiday season. If negotiations are still dragging on at that point, there's going to be huge pressure to just get a deal done so everyone can move on with their lives. The league might be banking on that pressure to get the players to accept less than they truly deserve. It feels like a strategic move that benefits the league more than the players, which is exactly why fans are so skeptical. Bottom line, here's what it comes down to. The WNBA had a real chance to make serious progress on issues that have been holding the league back for years. Instead, they chose to delay, extend, and just hope everything works out. Cathy Engelbert gets to keep her job for now, without facing any real consequences for her failures. The players get to avoid a lockout, but they don't get any of the improvements they've been asking for. And fans are left scratching their heads, wondering why everyone involved seems so scared to actually fix the problems that everyone knows exist. This 30-day extension could end up being remembered as a massive missed opportunity. Or hey, maybe negotiations will go great, and everyone will get what they want by November 30th. But based on the WNBA's track record, fans aren't exactly optimistic. They've seen this movie before, and it usually doesn't have a happy ending. So what did the players make the right call by agreeing to this extension? Or should they have pushed much harder for real change?